Hello! This week is Slider Week at Poppy Stamps, and so I made this slider that actually is kind of a magic window for colors to pop out as the fairy slides to the right. There's a pull tab that says Happy Snow Day. So let's get started. First of all, I needed to create a background, and so I cut out kind of a hillside and then started coloring it with Copic markers. All supplies and colors used will be listed on my blog. I learned about this technique from Marker Geek on YouTube. She makes the cutest little backgrounds for winter, and so check her out if you want to see more of this. I am by no means a Copic expert, but I do have fun with it. Okay, so notice how I'm not coloring on that bottom inch. That bottom inch is going to be where our little dots go, our color dots. And you'll see, but just I leave that blank because our dot die will be sitting over top of that. So I'm using My Favorite Things little slider tabs. They make things so simple. There's kind of an oval one and then a circle one, which will help flipping motion. I'm using the straight one that just fits right into those slider grooves. 5 by 5 is the card size. I made the base just a little bit larger so that I could have room to create kind of a groove for that slider to help it move smoothly. I'm going to go ahead and slow this down for a second to show you the pieces and parts of this card. So we've got the sky, and then the hillside, and then this front piece that the base will wrap around is about 2.5 inches, and it's got the dots cut out of the top and then the slider groove below that. I also used those eyelet stitches to finish off that top edge. So this is a hidden slider card is pretty much what it's called. Now I cut the frame out so that I could kind of gauge where I was at with things, and I really used that frame. You'll see that coming up. First I put some white, just kind of daubed on some white onto some blue to create the sky. And then I needed to figure out the placement of the hillside. So to do that, I kind of, just pieced the card together using the little frame and made sure that the slider tab was still hidden, and placed the igloo in there to kind of get an idea about, how high up and how much sky to show. So once I had an idea, I was able to put my bone folder down so that I could have kind of a little place marker there, and then I just glued the hillside on. Because I'm making a scene here, it's a little trickier than what a normal slider card is. So you'll see me using my bone folder to score that edge really nice and tight. And then I use my powder tool to go ahead and I just really put that powder in there so that I can get a nice smooth slide. And then I'll glue my dot panel to the front of that scored piece there. Again, I left that edge white, and you just want to make sure that that is, if you're doing the color slider, you want to make sure that there's nothing but white underneath that see-through border. And any see-through border could be used here. You could use musical notes for a happy birthday, or I've got an example here at the end of the video of a second card that I made. So be sure to check that out. Next, I just glued the slider elements together. Now, for most of this card, I'm using 110-pound cardstock. The 80-pound was fine for the background, but everything needs to be really rigid on this. So this blue is pretty thin, and so I went ahead and put a 110-pound backing onto it. Again, I used those eyelet stitches to create a cute little scalloped border, and then I stamped and embossed with gray, or silver I should say, Happy Snow Day. Again, because I used glue at part of the slider mechanism, I used my powder tool. And then I just used a hole punch to attach a little blue and white ribbon to the edge there. Now I strung the ribbon through, and just because I wanted to make sure that that ribbon wouldn't come off, I went ahead and put just a little tiny dot of glue on the back side right here. Next, I colored the fairies with Copics, and I left a little wing here to show you. To apply the glitter, I used a Fantastic Stick. And these are great for applying glue and color. You'll see me use it for the dots. But basically I just put the glue on and then tried to keep that white silver edge clean. And I just smoothed the glue around. And then I love this Lawn Fawn chunky glitter. It's a brand new product of theirs. And I found that using paper rather than one of those trays does work better. There must be some static in those trays or something, but it is beautiful. It's hard to see in this video. Here's a little picture to kind of show you. It's almost like a holograph, and it shows the little colors. One could match the colors in the little dots. It's just, I love this glitter. It's great stuff. Anyway, the best way to find where to color the dots is to use a pointer tool and just create a little indent wherever there is a dot. And so that's what I did there. And then I took the Fantastics. I'm using the Distress Oxides here because I love how they kind of sit on top of the paper, and I wanted bright colors to show through. The smaller the dots you use here, the more vibrant of colors you're going to want. You'll see again in the example at the end has smaller dots, and so I made sure to use really bright colors. In this particular one where the dots were a little bit bigger, I kind of wish I would have used more pastel-y muted colors. I definitely could have gotten away with that, but I made that other card first, and so I was just wanting to make sure that everything showed up. And then after using the Distress Oxides and probably making a mess, I just went ahead and really wiped off my work surface so that I wouldn't get anything on the white. And there I am testing it. It is really a fun card to make. All right, so I used 2 layers of the clear acetate to create a little triangle to glue the fairy onto. And then I glued the little My Favorite Things mechanism onto that. And using a hot glue gun, just for that extra staying power, I glued that into the slider. Now, before it's set up, you'll see me here give it a whirl, and then I was able to kind of break a bond of glue before it had time to really set up and wreck my entire card. So test, as you're making these sliders, you know, it's important to test things, use that powder, just kind of play with it. I added just a little bit of shading to the igloo, and you'll see me here. And then after I added just a little bit of shading, I went over the entire thing with Wink of Stella. That Wink of Stella, this is the clear, and it just adds such a nice, beautiful sparkle. The glitter doesn't get anywhere, stays put. It's just beautiful. So before I glued down the igloo, I went ahead and again attached the frame for reference and just made sure of where I wanted to glue that down. Glued it down, and what am I doing here? Oh, I'm adding a little bit of shading to the igloo there once it's put down. Okay, so the little fairies, I cut out a blank with the little die, the coordinating die set, so that I could make a double layer so that they were more like a little piece of chipboard rather than one single piece. The slider fairy, I meant to do that, and I cut one out. You'll see it there to the right, and I attached her too soon, so she's only got one layer. I did put a little bit of foam tape around the edge. Now remember, you've got a slider window in there, so you don't want that foam tape covering up the slider. And but I did use that to kind of piece it all down. I attached some double layers of snowflakes and then put Wink of Stella over top of them. And then you'll see me add some sequins in there. And then, of course, because I just love sparkles so much, I put some Swarovskis just here and there on the snowflakes, and I used a real light teal and a clear. And then I put some more sequins in the sky. And so this has just a ton of bling. I also put some of that Wink of Stella on the little eyelets there. And here I am testing this again. I could just sit and do this for hours. It is so much fun. I love these slider cards. These are the first I've made, and I'm hooked. Here's one that I used, the Memory Box sheer circle trimmings. But I mean, again, musical notes, you know, with a happy birthday fairy or anything. I know the background complicated this one a little bit, but these slider cards are so easy to make. I encourage anybody to try one. Oh wow, it's the end screen already. Okay, well, have a great day and I'll see you again soon. Thanks for stopping by.